Well, hello, my name is Laura from Laura's or a Great Explorer, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about my experience of being gluten-free as a celiac on board Cunard's Queen Anne. We boarded Cunard's Queen Anne on the 27th of July 2025 at Southampton for a 7-night cruise around the Norwegian fjords, which, by the way, if you ever get the chance to cruise around the fjords, do it. It's beautiful. So if you are cruising soon with Cunard's Queen Anne, you have so much to look forward to, and watch this video because I've got lots of tips and tricks around the ship on how to get the most out of being gluten-free on Cunard's Queen Anne. Now, I will talk about the various different venues on board, including the free venues and some of the additional charge venues. So stick with me and we'll go through how to enjoy being gluten-free on board Queen Anne. The first venue that I'm going to take you to is the Britannia Dining Room, which is the main dining room on board Cunard's Queen Anne. This is the venue where anyone staying in a Britannia grade cabin will dine. There are two options when dining in this venue. You can either do fixed dining, where you pick a time to dine, either in the early or the late sitting, or you can opt for freedom dining, which is where you'll just turn up, request a table. You may have to wait, and you're not guaranteed the same table every time. I find that being gluten-free or having any kind of allergen or dietary requirement, it's often easier to do fixed dining because your wait staff then know every night when you come in that you're there and you've got an allergen, and it just makes it a little bit easier for everyone to deal with it. And it means that you don't have to repeat yourself, and travelling gluten-free can be really difficult anyway, and it just removes that stress, which is exactly what you want when you're on a holiday. Okay, so starting with breakfast, I totally forgot to take any videos of breakfast, so my bad. We did dine in the Britannia restaurant twice for breakfast, and on one of the occasions I did get a gluten-free eggs benedict on gluten-free toast, which was very nice. And they did say as well that if you pre-order, you can get gluten-free pastry, which sounds amazing, and I kind of regret that we didn't do that. We didn't actually have lunch in the Britannia dining room. However, the menu is fairly similar to the dinner menu, so I can tell you about that. And I can tell you about pre-ordering, which we did for dinner, and it's the same system for lunch. There's a new menu every day in the Britannia dining room for lunch and for dinner. And if you have any kind of dietary requirement, you should get a menu the day before, and you can select your requests, and the chefs will do their very best to make it for you. As an example, I requested a goat's cheese tart the day before, and to my surprise it came to the table and it was gorgeous, and it was very gluten-free. It was fantastic and I couldn't believe it. So I just wanted to show you a selection of things that we got from the Britannia restaurant. So this was a mushroom risotto. It was a starter and it was really lovely. My husband got a pate, which also looks really lovely. This is a potato, truffle and goat's cheese soup, although the goat's cheese wasn't very strong at all. This was my pork medallion with gluten-free gravy, which is fantastic because gravy can be a bit of a difficult one at times. And this is a vanilla cheesecake. Actually, all the vanilla cheesecakes were gluten-free on this evening, so didn't even necessarily have to order it gluten-free, it just was. This was a vegetable soup. Now, on this evening, they were offering turkey ballotines, and I asked for it gluten-free, and I got this, and this is what my husband got. I basically got the same meal, but I just didn't get the stuffing. But I did get a gluten-free carrot cake, which was very, very yummy. So just sometimes they swap things out, but they're not quite the same. So overall, we had no issues with the Britannia main dining room. If you have a dietary requirement and you tend to be a little bit anxious around it, as I know some of us can be when we've got celiac disease especially, I know I was at the start, then this is probably the easiest option for you. However, don't limit yourself because there are so many other great options which I'm going to talk about further in this video. The next venue that I'm going to talk about is the Artisan's Food Hall, which is the buffet on board Queen Anne. Most of the food at the Artisan's Food Hall is behind glass and the chefs have to get it for you, which means there is a lot less chance of cross-contamination, which is fantastic news for anyone with an allergen. This clip was recorded on a sea day, and as you can see, the food hall can get quite busy. This station right here is the dietary station, which is incredible. They have breads, they have a dedicated toaster, they have sandwich fillings that aren't cross-contaminated, they have little dishes here which are gluten, lactose or vegan, or all of the above I think. Then you come across and there's little pots of fruit and brownies and oh my god, so many good things. Literally, I'll have to show you in this video, but there were so many good sweet treats. Now, this is one of my favourite videos that I took in the food hall, and I'm going to show you why in a second, because literally something incredible is coming up. Can you see that? That is a gluten-free chocolate cake, and oh my god, I've never seen anything like it at any kind of holiday resort or cruise line. Around the food hall there is allergen markings against all of the different foods that are on offer, which I think is really great. I had to show you this cheese selection because I love a bit of cheese, so yeah, here's the cheese. On the subject of cheese, here's a gluten-free cheesecake that was available in the food hall one evening, and we both had a bit because it looked so yummy, and it was really yummy. And of course, I couldn't resist a bit of that chocolate cake. Oh my god, so fudgy, so delicious. They also had lots of wrapped sweet treats. Okay, so the drink selection. The milk, you can actually get soya milk or whatever other milk you use at the dietary selection during the day. All you need to do is make your drink, whatever it is, go over to the dietary selection and the man will just quickly pour in some milk for you. Now, having issues with gluten, we all know that we need to rely on peppermint tea sometimes, and they do stock this here, which is fantastic. And they have lots of other teas as well if that tickles your fancy. And if you fancy hot chocolate, there's this chocolate powder available, which is hot chocolate powder. Now, if you fancy a more relaxed afternoon tea experience, you can come to the Artisan's Food Hall because they do gluten-free afternoon tea. How fantastic is that? You can make your sandwiches up and you can grab yourself a scone, and there is some cream and some jam. And if you fancy late night snacks, go up to the pizza counter, ask for a gluten-free pizza, and they should make you a fresh one. Now, going on from afternoon tea, let's talk about the Queen's Room, where you can get a traditional afternoon tea with the waiters all in their white gloves, and you clap them out, and it's such a magical experience. At an additional cost, you can have a champagne afternoon tea. Now let's get to the bit you're here for, gluten-free afternoon tea in the Queen's Room. Unlike my gluten counterpart, I didn't get a choice as to what sandwiches I got, so I ended up with a tomato and avocado sandwich and a cucumber sandwich, which to be quite honest isn't really to my taste, but the effort was there. The scone, however, was lovely. You can also get a selection of alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks in the Queen's Room. On this occasion, I opted for a mojito. On to the Corinthia Lounge. Now, I have a lot of good things to say about the drinks here and the service. I don't have a lot to say about the gluten-free options here because there aren't any in terms of food. However, if you are with someone who enjoys a bit of gluten here and there, then this is the place for you because they do some fantastic open sandwiches and they do an afternoon tea. Now, I thought I'd give you a little sneak of the drinks menu and give you some of my recommendations. So, the iced mocha, beautiful, very, very tasty. The deluxe hot chocolate, oh my god, it's incredible, I'll show you in a minute. And also the tea here, very randomly, the tea bags are gorgeous. We did actually get a wine flight here one night. I'm really not a wine drinker, so I don't really know why we opted for that. Okay, so Corinthia do an afternoon tea, but if you can't eat gluten, bit of a waste of time because you can't get anything. However, I'm sure if you're going with a partner, they might be a gluten eater, so here's what you can get. That drink is the iced mocha, and this is the deluxe hot chocolate. So you get your cream, your chocolate flakes, and your marshmallows. Oh my god, so delicious, and the view we had was fantastic. The next venue is the Golden Lion. This is the pub style restaurant on board Queen Anne. The Golden Lion has quite an authentic pub feel to it. They do quizzes here, they do music quizzes here, they do bingo. The menu is quite catered towards pub grub. I'd say for starters, if you're gluten free, there's going to be nothing for you. I was told there's nothing. However, for mains, you can get the Jolly Hog black pudding and apple sausage, which I had, and it was actually very delicious, although the portion was quite small. My husband had the ploughmans and the fritters. And now we're moving into the pavilion, and we're starting off with the pavilion grill, which was one of my favourites, and to my surprise, they have gluten-free buns to go with the burgers, which were super tasty, and I will show you in a minute. They also do hot dogs, but I don't know whether they're gluten-free, and the sides, you can't have any of them if you're gluten-free. So the system is you order right here, and then right next to it is where you collect. You get given a buzzer, and when it buzzes, you go and get your order. On both occasions that I ate here, I had the pavilion burger, and it was really tasty, and the bun was actually so nice. I missed out on having the loaded fries, but my husband had them, so at least I got to look at them. The next place is the Pavilion Gelateria. This does come at an extra cost, but having a look at the gelato, I do think it's very worth it. These can be served in a cup, despite it not saying that on the menu. However, if you're conscious of cross-contamination, as we should be as celiacs, then I'm not sure how that works here. Unfortunately, we didn't order anything here. I just wanted to make mention to the Pavilion bar because to the very right of the bar, which I didn't record, there's free water available. Okay, up next is the Pavilion Wellness Cafe, and my god, they have lots of very fresh, healthy options on their menu. Now, this is kind of the hub for gluten-free and for vegan options and vegetarian. They have a lot of options if you are gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian. This is another venue where you order, take a buzzer, and when it buzzes, you go up to collect and you grab your food. For breakfast one morning, I had the strawberry peach and ginger compote on a coconut yogurt, and it was really tasty. We decided to share the black rice with mango, although it was a little bit weird having rice for breakfast. My husband then had the croissant with the banana and honey jam, which he said was a bit of a funky taste. And to top it all off, we had this gorgeous view. We decided to try it out for lunch one day as well. I had the miso whipped tofu with diced tofu on the side. I also had this chocolate brownie which was gluten-free, and it was literally so delicious. My husband had this coconut dal, which I said he looked like a clanger eating it because it's green soup. And he also had this brownie. My husband's brownie came from the food hall. However, my brownie, which is gluten-free, came from this little counter here, which is right next to the Wellness Cafe. Everything in this counter, apart from the granola cookie and the tea soaks bread, is gluten-free. You can also grab some fruit here if you fancy that. Now, the bar next to the Wellness Cafe, they do have water that you can just grab free of charge. However, at an additional cost, you can get fresh pressed juices and shots, and not the alcoholic kind. I had a cold, so I tried out this orange, cinnamon and ginger shot. It was very spicy. A week later and I've still got that cold. Right, on to room service. Breakfast room service is complimentary, you just have to order it the night before. I ordered some toast and asked for it to be gluten-free, and it was delivered. Any other room service is now charged. On one evening I did order some cheese and crackers and asked for gluten-free crackers, and they delivered, but I forgot to take a video. Right, now to talk about the paid venues, I'm going to start with my very, very favourite, which was As You Are. We opted for the omakase menu, which is a Japanese phrase which means I leave it up to you. The omakase menu is set by the chef. On some of the courses you do get to pick your options, so you can just have a look at the menu and see what you like. But if you're gluten-free or have any other dietary requirement, head to the restaurant the day before your booking, pick your choices, and the chef will attempt to make what you want to your dietary requirement. It is amazing. So we started with this pea palate cleanser, which was very refreshing. The only difference is my husband got this crisp and I didn't. Our first proper dish was edamame beans, which was super fresh. My husband got these crispy bits. Now, he has just told me off for calling him my husband over and over again, so introducing my husband, this is Josh. I will now refer to him as Josh. Our next dish was miso soup with shimeji temaki. Temaki is hand-rolled sushi. Shimeji is the mushrooms. Me and Josh got exactly the same on this dish. Okay, even if you don't like fish, stick around for this. This was sashimi. We both hate fish, but we really enjoyed this. Also, this restaurant does gluten-free soy sauce. We did also have a little taster of sake, which is Japanese rice wine. For my next dish, I had pre-ordered tempura broccoli and it was amazing. I would highly recommend this dish. Josh had chicken karage. I don't know if this can be done gluten-free, but it's worth asking. For our main dish, we both opted for Wagyu steak. It was so tender, I ate the steak and the rice with chopsticks. If you're gluten-free, you will miss out on the noodles and the onion rings. However, if you can eat gluten, Josh said these noodles were amazing. Clearly, I got a little bit enthusiastic about dessert, but this was a hojicha nougat glace. It was really fresh and sweet, and it was served with this traditional matcha, which was whisked at our table. Our next venue is Sir Samuel's Steakhouse and Grill. Even if you don't eat meat, stick around because there are vegetarian options. We decided to come here for lunch on our first sea day. It wasn't very busy and service was really good. Now, I didn't pre-order in this restaurant because I didn't know that you should do that if you have an allergen, but if you're going to this restaurant, do go there beforehand and pre-order your food. I did get offered some gluten-free bread to start with, but I didn't really fancy it, but Josh's bread looked incredible. When looking at the menu, there are some items which come at an additional cost to the additional cost, so just look out for them. I ordered the Caesar salad, but just with no croutons, and Josh got the grilled asparagus, which looked so incredible. I really wanted this myself. On the mains menu, you'll see that there are lots of options which are gluten-free, but the meats don't show as being gluten-free. You can order them, and they will be made gluten-free. I ordered the house smoked Irish short rib, which was so tasty. Oh my god, I love ribs. Josh ordered the steak, which he really enjoyed. I then got sweet potato fries and tender stem broccoli, and Josh got triple cooked chips and cabbage. For dessert, although it isn't marked, the sherry trifle is gluten-free, and oh my god, the sherry is actually really quite strong in it. It was really tasty, but I did get a bit of food envy over Josh's cheesecake. Our next venue is Aranya. Aranya is the Indian-style cuisine on board Queen Anne. I'm going to say it again, but it applies to every venue that you are booking. Go and pre-order your food before you go, because again, I didn't do that here. However, that didn't really limit my choice. I still had good choices here. We had some nice views for this dinner because we were docked in Shoutout in Norway. Now, I don't know if this changes if you do pre-order, but I ended up having bread and butter and fruit while my husband had poppadoms, dip, and this bomb of yogurt. I'm not sure how I feel about the yogurt bomb, but apparently it was refreshing. I really wanted the pork belly, but I didn't pre-order, so I couldn't. But I opted for next best, which was this sweet pea goat cheese, and it was really tasty. Josh ordered the duck kebab, and he said it was very tasty. In between our starter and main course, we got this mango ice lolly. It was a palate cleanser, and it was very nice actually. Now, being gluten-free, they actually offered me a main course off menu. So I ended up having this butter chicken, which was really delicious. Between us, we had rice and a lentil dal. Josh had this naan bread, which I couldn't have, but they did offer me bread and butter. Josh had the poussin, which he said was very nice. For dessert, I opted for the Malai lychee kulfi. It was okay, it wasn't necessarily to my taste. Josh had jamun, which he said was amazing. It did look good, and again, dessert envy. The next venue is Tramonto. This venue serves Mediterranean-style cuisine. We actually didn't dine here, however, we were told that the food is really good here. We just didn't dine here because we're not big fish eaters and the menu looked quite fishy. But having a look at the menu, it does look very gluten-free friendly. So if you like fish, then this would be a good venue for you. Right, this one may seem a bit random because they don't serve food here, but I want to talk about the Commodore Club. Now, although it's a drinks venue, there is secret gluten hiding in the Commodore Club. The tiramisu martini is served with a biscuit. This was much to Josh's delight, but would have been a nightmare for me. However, I will recommend the Cunard Curiosity. It is extremely delicious. You can also get yourself a deluxe hot chocolate at the Commodore's Club. As you can see, we did indulge in a few of these. You can grab a drink almost everywhere around the ship, including in the lobby by the games room. And there's also water stations available if you want to fill up your bottle. Now, when you get on board, you'll get access to the My Voyage app, which you access through the Wi-Fi available on board. Just log on to the Wi-Fi, it's the free Wi-Fi, and it only allows you to connect to the app. On the app, you can get in the queue for restaurants, and you can also book restaurants if you want to go to various different paid venues. You can also view restaurant opening and closing times on the app. You can also do things like check your onboard credit. You can also view sample menus on the app, which is fantastic if you've got any dietary requirements and you're worried about what the different venues are going to be serving. You can also view restaurant and bar opening times on the back of your daily programme. Now I have to add in this special mention. If you're heading on a Norwegian fjords cruise and you are heading to the port of Haugesund, you have to go to this bakery. They do these gluten-free cupcakes and oh my god, they were incredible. Even Josh said they were incredible. And that's that for my video about being gluten-free on board Cunard's Queen Anne. If you have a trip booked in the future on board Queen Anne, you have so much to look forward to. The ship is absolutely stunning, and if you have any kind of dietary requirement, you'll be so well catered for, so you should be really, really excited for your trip. Thank you so much for watching my video, and if you could like my video and subscribe to my channel, I will be posting more content related to cruising, travel and gluten-free foods. I will be posting videos in the near future about Queen Anne the cruise ship and about cruising around the Norwegian fjords and how to do the ports yourself at a lower cost. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.